Jim, did you have a chance to look at the minutes? Do you have any changes from the notes of the last meeting? Everything seem okay? Do you want to come up to the table or no? That I wanted to kind of get the most out of today and not hold everyone up were the presents that we talked about at Heritage Day and what goes into that and the status. I was doing some more back putting planters and benches downtown and to give you guys an update and see if I can get some assistance with that. So the first one being the Heritage Day. So some of the things, and I did have communication on that. We are welcome to attend. And I think I had sent these notes out that they indicated um, that there are people who are already selling certain things. And so they had identified a few things if we wanted to do a bit of fundraising, and they had suggested cotton candy is one. I looked into that a little bit. You could rent a machine for $100, and we don't have to do any of these things, but they were just some different, things that came up. Popcorn machine. I know the YMCA has one we can use, and there was someone who might be selling popcorn, and I didn't get the final word on that yet. But if there isn't, and we wanted to do that, there is a machine that YMC has that we could ask about using. She mentioned that water might be something that we could hand out or sell. We'll comment that plastic bottles are not ideal environmentally, but that is selling or handing out water might be something. Excuse me. So a couple things I noted was pop-up canopy tent. They have those 10 by 10. I've looked on Marketplace to see if I could find something for sale. I don't know if we could borrow one from someone in a cooler, a large cooler. So if we did decide to do any kind of beverages, we'd need a cooler. And I think pop-up, especially thinking of the heat we've had lately, right? Anyone standing in the sun is going to wither quickly. So I wanted to put those out things as ideas for you guys to be thinking about, unless someone already has this, and wants to make a note now. Also, we had talked about having planters, and Betty actually has some friends who might be able to help, as well as Brandon Roberge had commented that he might be able to help with the construction. If we wanted to have a couple planters there at having a presence, that we could maybe recruit people to help build for ones that would actually go on downtown. So there'd be the aesthetic of whatever that little setup is at the event, and then again trying to recruit some volunteers. I'm just going to jump to the benches and the planters for a minute away from the from the Heritage Day. I did speak with the state, and they had provided me some information, and I recognize I was going to forward some of this information to you. I have not done that yet. Brent was looking at it. He's not able to be here today, and the public works director I've included in these communications to see what is allowed on Main Street, because it is a DOT street. It's a state road. And specifically, there's those areas downtown that have the striping adjacent to the sidewalks. And now that's for sight distance purposes. So one of the questions that I asked, and I'm waiting to hear back on, is, so sight distance is measured at 3.5 feet. So as if you're in a car. So one of the questions I had is, if we had planters that were low. Benches probably you couldn't do, because when someone's sitting on a bench, they're going to be more than 3.5 feet. But if there were planters that wouldn't say, for 2.5 feet, I posed that question to see if that's something that might be considered in those hashed areas. They noted that something on wheels would not be appropriate. So they would have to be movable, or that's what we, what we had talked about, but wheels, it sounds like is not going to be, will do. I did see, I'm a huge marketplace fan, so I did see, like, they look like old, like almost like a trolley on wheels, like kind of like a slab, wooden, like an old, kind of what they looked like, the ones I saw, but I know they're all different ones, just wheels, um, an old wooden door, or just, some type of plywood or what have you, with wheels and a rope, and you could move things around that way, just as one option that might be kind of low tech, low cost. I know that Kevin Doyle, Public Works Director, had mentioned that off-season, we could store them, maybe the planters and benches at the cemetery. But there are a lot of things that we might be able to use them for, because we talked about potentially decorating these for Christmas. You could do something for Halloween. You could, so there's going to be an off-season, but maybe it won't be as long as we think if we, are able to do some of these other things. So I'm going to need some assistance with someone to help actually measure spaces and come up with a draft plan for a location of like a first flush draft of, let's try this, low hanging fruit, this smaller area. Could we have this and have some benches and planters and have an idea of how many that would be and see what the state says, and then go from there. So that's where I'm at with that. And I'll come back to that and see if some people want to volunteer for that. But to have them at Heritage Day to help us move forward with that task. And everyone's nodding. I feel like everyone still thinks that this may be a good idea. Yes. Is it the 26th? It's in July.
Yeah.
26th. Just one day. And it'll come up quick. Seems like ways away, but it'll come up quick.
This is planted.
Well, that we don't know, right? And there's things like consistency, because I know something from the chamber came out recently with a ton of events. I didn't forward that, but moving forward, I would like to coordinate and make sure like there isn't duplication of efforts or stepping on toes or however that looks. But you may already have some information or some program regarding planters, and maybe, did I see something?
Yeah, so we just did it's plastic ones up town. Yeah, they were sponsored by local businesses. I think there was about,
And was there a plan for it, or was it just whatever businesses were willing to?
yeah, it was like $100 donation for them. So we just asked as many businesses as we could to get to donate, and as many as we got downtown. Yep, second year.
Nicole Thomas, she has the barber shop.
Yep,
I met her, yeah.
chamber. Do that as part of the chamber.
And
To do more.
were the businesses going to water them, or how's that? Who's wasn't discussed?
That's, we don't know.
But so far, they're getting watered somehow, or the rain, or they're doing okay? Yeah.
Okay.
So here's an example of, I know that, I just talked to Lonnie, I'm so glad to see you. Because I know that email went out and there seems like a lot of stuff going on. And one of the things that I've been concerned about is there's all these entities that are doing all these things downtown. The Historical Society, there's a garden club, there's so many different things. And the chamber is to be able to harness all this and coordinate so we're all working together and not duplicating efforts. And I know you guys are also looking for a staff person. So I can help out to the degree that's realistic, because I have other things that I'm working with the Conservation Commission and Planning Board. Well, sounds like you guys are in flux, and I'm happy to help umbrella this, however that looks. But I've kind of been feeling around a little bit to see people's thoughts on that. And like, we don't have a chair for the committee yet, vice chair. But people seem happy to participate. So maybe we can continue to work on that as far as the chamber's enrollment, because I know you guys were talking about that. So the town pays me a salary. And one of the things that I'm doing is helping with downtown economic development, all of that. So however my time can help all these groups work together.
It's wonderful.
Great. So, does anyone have time and the energy to be the point person for the 26th, for this one-day event to help? And I'm happy to help, but I just realistically, I'm going to need someone else to be a point person or a couple people to help some of these things happen. But even before that, for you all to decide, do we want to have planters there? Okay, it's a good idea to have a tent, so we need to look for that. You know, we're going to rule out any kind of food or beverage. If you could just have some discussion here, of what that looks like, I'll take notes. And then if we can get a person or two, I will continue to work with them to start rolling it, forward more outside of these meetings, as well as we talk about it at them. I want to jump out for a minute and see what your thoughts are.
So I also belong to the Manchester. I'm committed to them that day because they're having their Heritage Day that day.
Oh,
And they chose it way before Winthrop. So I unfortunately don't know how much time I'll be in. Apologize. Winthrop Heritage Days. It's the same thing. I'm unfortunately can't be in 3 weeks.
So the objective is to have someone sitting there and being a presence. A presence to represent.
oh, this is my idea of where this is at, is that the group seemed favorable to having a presence, but what that looked like was a little up in the air. We talked about a 50-50, which I was told may not be allowed by the state. But they were going to confirm that. And we talked about, well, would we do a survey? Would we just be kind of like a meet and greet where we, introduced the committee and said, these are some of the things that we'd like to do. We didn't define that yet, but yes, a presence. So we need feedback on what that looks like. Okay.
Fortunately, I am semi-committed to be selling a product that day at, I could be torn in 2 different directions. I can pass off sales of this product to someone else. So I can be there. When you say point person,
To help coordinate, because we don't want it to be, and I have enough going on right now that without a member of the community, I'm afraid it might be, underwhelming. So,
it could be as simple as a table and a tent and nothing and just be there. It could be nothing but us being there. It could be that simple, right?
it could be that simple.
Are we selling something? Day or nay? We should just kind of make some,
Yeah, I'm hoping, yes, and then I can help move it forward.
how much does that cost us? Funding.
We'll say that we are industry center. Like decorated content. We're doing that.
Yeah, so would I talk to you or should I talk to Nicole about, so here's what we had talked about previously was, because we don't have a budget yet. Talked about using pallet wood. And if you look online, there's a zillion ways people are doing that. So we're some rustic planters kind of going on with, I did come on Sunday because I hadn't been personally enough to the vault event yet. And I did come Sunday and that was great. Because we have a number of vintage stores in town and kind of using that as a theme to start. It doesn't have to be permanent, but try with this pallet wood to make some of these things. But it sounds like there's planters that are a different aesthetic. So in order to be consistent, like, so if we could talk about that maybe, but I don't know if you're the person, if Nicole's the person. And everyone who's doing stuff is working hard, so I don't want to have things be in conflict. People feel like they're wasting their time. When is your next meeting?
Existing planters, maybe we should. Been long. Maybe this season we and maybe pallet benches. I mean, you drive down Main Street. there's plenty of- It's really very
Mhm.
nice job. So maybe this season we focus. So it could be
Mhm.
more decorated. See, Then eliminate.
Well, as of this minute, but we'll see what comes out of this meeting, right? We could have a brainstorm.
I was on the comprehensive plan and I had downtown. I met, actually met Matt. And I asked him, benches, I agree, be really nice for kids, families, old people, to sit down and just kind of watch. His only requirement, I know at that time, and maybe Kevin has different, but he said they've got to be movable so they're not there in the winter, or they've got to be back far enough so our could be in front of that, not, they didn't have.
You were talking about downtown?
We were talking,
I'm having a flashback. When I first came, it was almost 2 years ago, sometime, shortly thereafter, I believe the council had a discussion, they may have created a policy around, there were people wanting to have benches, memorial benches in Norcross Point. And there was a lot of benches. I'm wondering what that policy said and if maybe that might be something to look at
Well,
how that
not-
impacts the downtown. But there were more people who wanted to place them than there was space, I think.
they are
Permanent. We're not, I don't think that would be right to
Okay.
downtown bench. Up next to one of these. And they can be anywhere. They're paint.
Yeah.
Screws and nails, it's really.
Matt was for it. On basis, but his worry was, what do we do in the winter?
Mm-hmm.
And so we could build them and make them movable.
Sit them in the cemetery.
Right.
Just- yeah,
And
Yeah.
that might,
Dear, I'll pull that policy. I think you're right. It was just for Norcross Point, but I wonder if there are people who wanted to have benches, if there was already too many. My recollection is that there was a lot of people. That could be exaggerated.
um, that bench that's for veterans,
Ah,
and that is granite. I think that's that. After we all did that, they just didn't want big, bench community. And the benches there right now.
they would?
The ones down, they're concrete and there's only like maybe two. Been there a long time.
No, because they've just recently. Expensive and there's a policy. I don't think that.
Mhm. As far as memorial, like if someone wanted to put something in someone's, memory, you think, this is opinion, that's something that people would like to see downtown, or you think really it's the view of the lake and the peacefulness that they're going for? Not really a downtown thing. Mhm.
So
I did not ask if they have a rain day.
No, there is no rain day.
And
Do we
antique
show
car
up anyway?
wash To antique. So
Yeah.
that- I think it's the great. It's something. Just take the shirt off. Let's focus.
Whatever is the pleasure of this
Just
committee.
another. Just another.
Well, that's I guess I was trying to highlight that whatever we do, we want to make sure that it has a little bang, right? A little kick and not. So if we can do it, great. But if you feel like it's that we don't have enough people and materials, then that's definitely a consideration.
Plan Benches. Starting.
Does the chamber has the chamber had conversation about benches downtown?
We haven't yet. But we're definitely interested in helping out, make downtown more beautiful. in Many ways.
When you did the surveys with the business owners, did that come up? Benches, no?
It was part of it.
Yes. Benches is there, sounds like that. It sounds like planters, we've got some planters and we'll work with Nicole and with the chamber to see if there is any opportunity to supplement or just help in any way. And then we just said the benches, and then so going back to Heritage Day to see, what all of your thoughts are and if you want to continue that course or if you want to switch gears. We only started talking about this, within the last month or two. So if it was something you all decided you wanted next year, we have time to make a more formal and in advance.
Morning until after.
Yeah, and so you probably wouldn't want someone to stay there all day in the heat. I think that'll be unrealistic. So like have maybe pairs, for 2 hours each, or
All this.
do you work at the mall? See you, I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was hot.
Oh.
I did Sunday, yeah. I've heard so much about,
Store back.
no, I guess I didn't realize that. Great, great. Location with all of those different vendors was great. Yeah. They had some food trucks. They had a romance book truck, which I never, yeah.
Wasn't that awesome? That awesome. Is that
Anthony mentioned that, yeah, yep. So it sounds like maybe incorporate Heritage Day into calendar for next year. Decide, does the chamber have any involvement in Heritage Day?
The Heritage Days was first forming, they asked us.
Mhm.
So now we're through a bit of a transition, so we're more solidified. New, new staff in place. No.
Being done. Same time. It will be a third.
Sherry,
So should we flag this for next year and then just continue this discussion and whatever interactions and, again, is this harnessing everyone who's already working on stuff downtown and coordinating? It seems like it would be great in terms of best using everyone's volunteer time, because it seems like there's plenty of people who are interested. So, okay, we'll set that aside. But we won't forget about it. And then, the benches, we can focus on that. I'll continue to work in the direction that I have been in terms of finding out what the guidelines are around the state. And if anyone's interested in assisting with actually coming up with some type of plan that the committee would look at and we would submit to their state for their approval, because it is the state right of way. So if anyone, and I'm not gonna put anyone on the spot right now, but if that's something that you have an interest in, I'll follow up with Brent, because I think that, he was looking at the technical aspect of it and he has a mind for that. So he wasn't able to be here today, but he is still interested in working with the committee.
Measure some spaces, benches, or
Yeah.
suggestion as to where the
I would be happy to together. and Design. But easy. They're movable. They're
Mhm.
not gonna be,
sturdy.
yeah, just make them sturdy.
There's a zillion different, things online with plans
They
and,
don't even have to.
Yeah.
Makes. Be happy. Meal.
so there's Brent and Brandon, and they both have showed interest. So, and I'm happy to participate, but maybe like if this whole committee, there's so many different things, if one or two people, and then we can reach out to the others and have a separate meeting and then report. So if you're willing to do that, then I can put something out. Yeah. Is that something you're interested in? Betty is also on the planning board, so she has a gym, so they already have a lot. All right, so I'm gonna send you an email to start. So I have a lot of plans, and we talked about this last time, but I haven't shared any of them that. There's a lot plans, some of them technical, some of them more of like an artist rendering of downtown, like plan view, because we had sidewalk in place, there's engineering done. There's landscape architect who did work, with color and vegetation. So there's all these images. We don't have to recreate the wheel. So we will want to confirm some measurements, but usually that is the kind of thing that doesn't change, right? There may be trees that are on a plan that may not still be alive, or what, we want to confirm that information. But we don't have to start it from scratch, and we could use these as a basis to sketch in some of what we're talking about. So, and then come back to this committee and have everyone look at it and check in with the state, and if it's a go with whatever we propose, whether that's 2 benches or 6 or whatever, and then we can come up with more specific plans around building them. That
Say for
sound,
2020. If they're so popular.
that's a good winter project.
Well, maybe get one in.
Fill one.
well, that is.
I mean, I don't think they'll take long to build.
Was one of the things I had said was, what the pallet wood is. I mean, from aesthetic, I think it'd be really neat, but that's my opinion, and I don't pay taxes here. So what the community likes, like, it's a good start. And if people say, that's not really what we want to see, it's the kind of thing you could donate or sell, right? or
Well, you
burn.
Sayers all the time in winter, right?
Every community, yeah. every community.
So don't listen too close.
It's awesome. Bring on.
Mhm.
Three.
I think so.
All people.
Oh, absolutely.
Me,
Agree.
You should see all the partners. They do this. Their partners.
And got energy, we got a plan.
State.
I actually got that information. I just didn't share it with everyone, which I talked about doing, so I will send that to you. And I can forward an email I sent to the state. I shared it with Brent McCarthy, who's he's on the planning board. And with Kevin, the Public Works Director. He's not here today. He wasn't at the department head meeting, so I'm not sure if he's in town today, but he was here at our last meeting and he's interested in participating. So, and he knew a lot at the last meeting about what can and can't happen. So I will share that, the technical standards with all of you. Yeah, and it's a little bit hard to interpret. I'll forward the email communications in addition to the attachment, and you can see the questions I asked, because you may see a different question.
Can I ask a question? So does the state have jurisdiction over the sidewalks?
The whole right of way and the sidewalks are part of the right of way.
It's for clear.
Yep. So, and there are things that they require that we would anyways, just as a matter of course, like ADA access, we want, so I will send out the email with the communication and questions I had, which will have the attachments so you can see the technical specifications that we're working within. Then just if I could update you on a couple of things. So we're focusing on benches. Is that a little head nodding? Yeah. Can you hear us okay, Jim? No, not so much. Okay. But he is getting hearing aids, so maybe in the next meeting. Yeah, actually, that would be good. If you want to switch, yes. Time. Excellent, thank you. Here today, and we're going to work on benches. So a couple of things, and I know we started late due to me being late, so I don't want to keep you too long. I want you to come back. So just real quick, Farmers Market Initiative, that's just ongoing. We talked about at some point having a point person. At the staff meeting that we just had, someone mentioned farm stand that just opened. Apologize, it was one I had not heard of before, but they have one apparently in Manchester and in Winthrop. Noted, but as someone to reach out and start reaching out to these different potential vendors, just seeing who's interested. So that I can do, plus looking at the state standards, there's different nonprofits that have guidelines around how to do it. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel. There's all kinds of resources. So I'm going to continue to get more information and report back on that. And as that comes together, we'll kind of rise to the surface who wants to champion it. And then we just continue to help. That's basically. Yeah. There is. Thank you.
I will say, in the
Did see
learn,
that.
maybe these- like,
We were just talking about that at one of our chamber meetings
again,
too.
it's
A huge investment. Huge investment.
Mm-hmm. Hodgepodge.
at finding a good location.
What did the chamber, did you have draw conclusions or just start the conversation?
Yeah, we were just, you know, sure that
So
It's where we're at, yeah.
so
Okay.
if one got by somebody, you guys could advertise, you guys could promote.
Right.
You got, that's,
exactly. Board.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're ready to do as much as we can to help. And we have,
Okay, that must be Fitbit. Mine says the same thing. Okay, so farmer's market, so now we know that there are other people having discussions. We know there's huge community support. Everyone is getting feedback, I feel like, so that's great. So that's where that status is, and I had mentioned previously that Anthony had reached out to Senator Craig Hickman, and he was interested in having a discussion with us, and wasn't able to do it at the time we originally hoped, so that may still happen. And I will back on that if he has some information for us that we might act on. Then another thing that I had mentioned, just for a quick update, is there are TIF funds available that the council is looking at potentially expending on efforts towards the Mill Stream Trail, which has been in plans in the comp plan and the downtown plan. So you may see some activity on that. There's support from the planning board, the conservation commission, this group, and the council. So, and historically, there's been support from the community at large. So hopefully with potential funds available, you know, not sure what this committee role will be, but it's part of the plan that you're implementing. So I'm sure that there'll be something there. That and one of the things that was just talked about in this meeting, the department head meeting and at the Conservation Commission meeting, was there are trail grants available at the state level. We voted on that. Recently, there was a referendum, and that money is going to be coming available. So Anthony reached out to the Land Trust, Kennebec Land Trust, and one of our conservation members is a member of the board of directors. So we're going to meet next week and start talking about that. And one of the things that hopefully we'll be looking at is the connection of downtown to Mount Pisgah. So, and there have been folks working on this intermittently for a long time. So again, going back to, we're not starting from scratch. So hopefully we can pick that ball back up and have some funding to help things like potentially easement, design, or, you know, there's all elements of that, but yeah. So just to give you a heads up on that,
Awesome.
that's connected to downtown and the whole, you know, goals. And then I just had one more thing. You can just give me 1 second. Apologize. Oh, the last thing I just wanted to mention and ask if anyone has any ideas on is we talked about, so officially the council created a downtown revitalization committee, which is clear, you know, what the purpose is, but it's not, it's a little formal, right? So one of the things that I had sent out was, is there another name that the committee could use? And I had identified some different ones that are used for the Main Street program in Maine, like Belfast has Our Town Belfast, Biddeford has Heart of Biddeford. Some of them are kind of dry. Brunswick Downtown Association, Ellsworth has Heart of Ellsworth, Gardner, Destination Downtown Gardner, Maine. So that was a Saco it used to be Saco Spirit, but now they just have a slogan, enhancing the vitality of downtown. So if this is something you could just chat about for a minute and maybe not draw any conclusions, but if you just have some broad feelings and ideas on it, I mean, maybe we should just go with what we have. Maybe we're not ready for a slogan yet. But eventually we'd want something that could be marketable. We're gonna have wayfinding signage, you know, so kind of a theme or a hook, or I guess that's marketing really, right? So does anyone have any thoughts on that? I know you haven't had a lot of time to look at that, but is that a direction we want to head, is finding something like that? I may have just not pulled that one, but they're doing the hard, they do the hard.
They do so much. They're downtown. Merchants.
I went to an art walk. It was great. Yeah.
I believe so, but they've done it all.
I believe they're a Main Street community, which is what we're on the, yes, I believe they're a Main Street community.
Thing. The town council is
I think one of the things that we can do is come up with a proposed budget and, put that forward, Jim.
we could certainly so, yeah,
What I can do, Jim and all of you, is one of the things that we can get assistance from the main downtown center, who is Main Street USA, is we can get resources from them because there is a requirement eventually to submit to become a Main Street that you have to have a budget. So I can get some information on them to start, going down that road, whatever that will look like, and let them give us some guidance. And I can provide that back. Yeah, yeah. It, something more warm and fuzzy, something more,
Vision. Rather than downtown revitalization.
well, that is the official name of the committee. So maybe it's changing the committee name, or maybe it's just a slogan. I don't have an actual specific suggestion, but generally speaking, there are towns that have some slogan or a name that is more inviting, I think, as a visitor, or, you want to have your business there. So,
You say it's like, it's happening.
exactly, yeah.
And has Winthrop abandoned? That's a big question. Outside is big.
Still said
There's
Memorial.
still a lot of signs up. It was up there by the recreation.
Amber
Big.
DeRozier.
Yeah. I don't know that we abandoned it.
There was actually, this is my understanding, there was a staff person involved in that, like someone was hired, and there was money that came through, I want to say the YMCA, but there was funding. So the slogan is still out there. I don't know if that's something that would play into this. If it's something that would be, different from the downtown focus, but that is still out there. It's not been abandoned officially, but there's no follow-up to my understanding as far as the program that was happening.
It's,
Yeah.
but it is still.
Community.
Of history. Comp plan. Reliving. Love our history. We love. This is a Main Street.
Well, downtown, Main Street, it depends on, like, so there's the downtown center works with, the National Main Street Organization. So there's certain parameters there. And we have indicated we'd like to participate in that. You're not limited to that. So I guess there's what we'd like to do, and then what programs you'd be a part of, and then there's being realistic. So all of that will play in. As of this moment, a committee was created to help implement and update the 2000 downtown revitalization plan. And as part of that, Anthony started looking into becoming one of these communities. So we're not hamstringed by anything right now, because the plan needs to be updated. So that's going to look however, this committee moves forward in public input. And if we want to be a Main Street community, there are certain things that we're going to have to do. And, at some point, the community could say we don't want to be. I don't see why we wouldn't at this point, but that's, as we move forward, you all will come to that conclusion.
This is an interesting. I believe that the town of Winthrop name did. Is really state. It's kind of like, I think Hollowell is another community who know that. So just a thought, is that we do use. And, winning and winter, I don't like it, but it, something using. Stores.
You th- To expand outside of building, like there were food trucks, there were, there was that book mobile we talked about. Um, is there benefit to this committee or one of the groups to participate in expanding that? To bring more people in general? I know it brings a lot of people in. Would that be, do you think, to the detriment because there's already so many people that it would then be overcrowded and turn people off?
I don't think. In the vault. Never, anybody say, yeah, Main Street was crowded, but isn't that wonderful? I don't, what do you mean expand?
Well, we know there's going to be a lot of people in town that day. Is there an opportunity for more like street vendors or for music or things that will complement?
That could be, but I don't see that. Yes, gonna focus
They're
on her
wonderful.
business. If you wanted to introduce band day, he's done that once in that area on the right of
Mhm.
where there's appears to be an entrance. Did that once, and they came on their own.
Mhm.
She's gonna focus on what she for the business and let her stay focused on her business. That's what we
Sure.
do, right?
We wanted to do something, we would want to work hand in hand with them for something that complemented what's going on.
Say, hey, we're gonna have a band, we're gonna set it, it's that, she'll be thrilled. But I wouldn't ask of her.
No, no, absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah, just don't want to detract.
Town. We- Yep.
And you know that the other businesses love it.
Yeah,
They love it. They do well, those.
Mhm.
See their sales on those same weekends. You know,
how do we move people around in a better fashion? Depends. That- Raleigh downtown. Used to,
You say used to, when are you talking?
I don't know, before my time.
every time before
There
my,
used to be one.
there sure was. Yeah. Not trails. I mean, no,
Yeah.
but, no. What? Absolutely. Is it the Christmas vault? They have people. In addition to the what advertising that Nikki does, that's what the thing to do. Mo, do something for business. All the businesses, right?
You're standing.
It's called the vault. Officially, it's the monthly vintage market, but we
And people know it when you say that, just like you said, people know the vault.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Fortunately, there is the possibility that she would ultimately move out of
That's what I saw.
space and the town. And that
That's right.
has nothing to do with you. It is what it is. I- Business is a, brick and mortar is a not do. You would love it.
Need another floor.
You know, I was in, met a person. Like, so our name should be Winning in Winter. Wonderful winter. You know, doesn't even have to. Revitalization. Yeah.
So, following the conversation is that I'll communicate about Heritage Day that this year we're not going to participate, but that we'd like to hopefully have something for next year. I'll continue working on research around the farm stand, and one of the things I'm going to do is compile that list, take the information out of the comp plan. I'm going to work with Downtown Center and see what information they can get us so that we can come up with a budget that's probably more realistic than what we might think because if we do this. And then I'm going to work with the chamber to see what role we can play together. And so a next meeting, back and report back next meeting. Sorry, and I'm going to also send out an email around about planters and see if we can have a little sub discussion to bring back to the group. I'm sorry, benches.
Yes.
Does that sound like I've covered what, is that what you all taking away from this, or did I miss something? Well, we're gonna build the benches. Yeah, there's still, yeah, I have a little list of, yeah. So I wrote that down, Betty. And then, so that's when I have noted, unless you guys have something to add that I've missed. And whatever that looks like, otherwise, if you want to pick a next thing. So it turns out that we've been meeting every other week on a Wednesday. But it's been, I do have department head meetings on the same time, so I'd like to either move it earlier or later in the day if we stay on this day, or to the other alternating Wednesday, so that I don't have that conflict. Because in addition, I've been noticing the department heads of what's going on, so they may actually want to come to the meeting sometimes. So if you could all decide when you'd like to meet next, and if it's going to be this Wednesday, that's perfectly fine with me, but if we could just do it a little bit later or earlier, that'd be great, so we could.
Would not.
Nope, you would not. Let's see, next Wednesday is the 8th. Today's the 25th, I'm sorry, so the 9th. The 2nd, yes, correct. And if we did every other week from there, and Right now, we don't have a set monthly. This, like I had kind of said before, is kind of unfolding. So if you just want to kind of go meeting by meeting, that's fine. But if you want to set that up tentatively as a regular every other Wednesday, I can set that up.
I think days,
As long as it's
Time
it's
did-
opposite of planning board that way, and there's no department head meetings on those Wednesdays. So for me, that's, I have more flexibility.
See,
brief meeting. Assistance. meeting. And go through
That works for me.
at two.
these at 2,
When,
Wednesday,
Confusing, huh?
Wednesdays at 2, starting next.
on the 2nd. I'll send out. Yep.
We all do appreciate your.
Yeah.
I like to send more information with it. And so on the 7th of this month of July, I'm going to have access to a part-time administrative person. So that should help you get more information in advance of meetings, which is something we talked about last time because I wanted to provide you with, at least digital attached by us if you wanted them to be. I'm sorry. Oh, so I have compiled a list of people when I talk to them and I say, are you interested? So that I've been putting people on this email list. I've mentioned this previously, is that there are so many people interested in downtown, but not everyone has time to this permanent long-term role. So I've been asking people if they would be interested in just being noticed of things. They may say, oh, we want to help build benches, or, maybe we'll come to that one event, or people who are just on the free, wouldn't be at every committee meeting, but are in the know and who might either just like to know or participate intermittently. So I'm building that list. And I'll send out a reminder telling people, it's people that I've asked so far. But if anyone wants to get off the list at any point, I don't want people to feel harangued.
We. Great. Stay on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see you're saying as sitting on the, yeah.
I'll still have business downtown.
Mm-hmm. There were some people who got on the initial committee, but then, really nothing was happening and they had stuff going on. And so, and I did keep them on the list when we did start to get moving. And I said, if you don't want to be noticed, just let us know. So you could pass that along to people that if they're getting emails and want to be in, still want them, that's great. But I really don't want to drive people away. I'm trying to be careful with that. So that's great. You still have someone and then she would share it with all of you. Yeah. Or he, I shouldn't say that. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. I think that works.
Didn't see.
Hard. People have,
Yeah.
Jim has his hand up. Hey, Jim? Would you? Oh. Sure. this looks history on if the town has ever considered a flag. I'll see what I can find, bring it back to you all, and then you could discuss like what you might like to do with that information for the next meeting. Does that sound? Does that make sense, Jim? Is that, I don't know if you were able to hear me. So what I'll do, Jim, is I will put together, I'll get some information around what it looks like to move this forward. If, you know, the committee wants to support it, the council is the one who would actually take any action. So I'll see if I can find a little history if the town has contemplated, you know, a flag before, what the process is and that. I'll bring that information to the next meeting and you all can have a little more discussion on it.
I'll have. I've got a hearing appointment, not for